Hello, I'm Dr. Mark Bazanson from Hillcrest Animal Hospital, and this is your pet tip of the month. Today we're going to be talking about ethylene glycol. Ethylene glycol is a colorless, odorless liquid that is highly toxic and has a very, very sweet taste to it. Most common places that this is found is actually in the fluids in your car. Two big places. One is the brake fluid, the other is brake or hydraulic fluid. The other is, the more commonly, is the radiator fluid, in which we find the most problems with your pets. In radiator fluid, for the most part, there's several colors. One, the most common, is the green color. This is the one you'll see most often. Some of the newer ones are an orange color, but can still be toxic to your pet. The compound we're worried about is ethylene glycol. Ethylene glycol is broken down by the body into two different compounds, which are very, very damaging to the kidneys, and therefore is an extreme emergency to get these guys in, as it can cause problems and even death in these guys. And so exposure to these needs to be, just need to watch, especially with the cooler months upon us, and we're changing our radiator fluid, that these guys aren't exposed to the radiator fluid. Most of the time these guys are exposed when there is a leak in the car, or if someone changes the radiator fluid and there's a puddle left in the driveway or in the cracks, and there's a little accumulation in cracks in the driveway. This is a prime spot for these guys to get a hold of some radiator fluid and can cause the problems. The clinical signs, what are you going to want to watch for if you think your pet has been exposed? If within 30 minutes to 12 hours, typically these guys will act, they'll vomit, they'll act almost drunken-like, they'll kind of stagger around, they may seizure, they're going to really show some neurologic signs. They may be depressed, very vague signs, but yet if you think that they've been exposed, you definitely need to rush them in. Then they may go through a period where it may not look like anything's wrong, and then these metabolites or compounds, acids, start to break down and they damage the kidneys. Whenever we start having damage to the kidneys, then we start going into renal failure, and that is the concern that we have for these guys. Signs that you want to look for, that they may be going into kidney failure. These guys will start to drink more water, they may urinate more, or they may stop urinating, one or the other. They usually either urinate more or stop urinating, and so if these signs develop, definitely need to rush these guys into a veterinarian and get appropriate care. How do we diagnose this? Typically, diagnosis is based on history. History is a big one. If an owner sees their pet drinking radiator fluid, we need to rush them in as quick as we can. There is a blood test that we can run that also will test for ethylene glycol in the blood, and it will show if exposure has occurred. How do we treat it? Protecting the kidneys is the big part. These guys, if caught within 30 minutes to an hour, typically we can lavage the stomach or flush that stomach out. We can also give some activated charcoal. Sometimes that helps decrease the absorption, and therefore there isn't as much absorbed into the bloodstream and causing as much problems. After that, these guys need to be put on fluids and some other medications to help with stopping the formation of the acids that produce the damage to the kidneys. And so definitely you need to rush these guys into the veterinarian if you know that they've been exposed. How do we prevent it? Like I was talking about, typically prevention is based on keeping the areas clean, not having any leaks in your radiators. If you have a spillage, clean it up quickly. These guys can become exposed even in the summertime. If their water bowls evaporate and they lose water supply, they'll look for other means of water. And so if there's a crack with a little bit of radiator fluid in it, they're going to go drink it. And so with a sweet taste, they will definitely become, they will like it and will drink it. In the wintertime, if their water bowl freezes over, they may find the ethylene glycol in the radiator fluid will not freeze, and therefore they have access to that liquid and will drink that as well. And so prevention is mainly based on keeping these guys from becoming exposed. And I can't stress enough, if these guys become exposed, you need to rush them into your local veterinarian and have them treated. And that's your pet tip of the month with Dr. Mark Bazanson. Thanks.